Welcome to the television edition of Radio Friends, where we feature guests from all over central Missouri. This week, we'll talk more about good dental health and share a scary Halloween story with Larry Brown. All that and a lot more if we get started right now. Both of these lovely ladies are here today to talk about the Taste of the Holiday Home Tour Brunch and Fashion Show.
Exactly.
Did I get it all in there right?
You got it all in there right, Paul.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
this is for the Missouri Symphony, or MOSI.
Mosey, that's our new
okay.
title, yes.
So tell us about it. Let's start off.
Well, this will be our 7th year. We had a little break there because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we're back again and ready to get started. We are going to have our fashion show this year at the Country Club of Missouri. It will be November the 6th, coming up real soon. And we're going to have local celebrities modeling at the fashion show. It will be that morning of the 6th from 10:30 a.m. until 1 o'clock.
Okay, and that'll be at the Country Club of Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then, is that when you have the brunch?
Yes.
The brunch there. Tickets include a delicious brunch, a style show. What else?
And the reveal of the homes for the homes tour in December.
Okay, so how many homes are going to be on tour?
4.
4. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to reveal them to us today?
No, I'm not.
No, she's not.
But you know what they are.
Yes, sir, I do.
And there's no way I can get it out of you.
No, I don't think so. But I will tell you who the models are going to be because they're local celebrities.
Okay.
Okay, if you're ready.
Yeah.
All
go ahead.
righty. We're going to have Suzanne Chow,
Okay.
our Choi, as
Suzanne
most people
Choi.
know, and Lee Russell, who
Okay.
is the First Lady for Columbia College. And, of course, Suzanne is the First Lady for the university. We're going to have Dr. Diane Lynch, who is the President of Stevens College.
Okay.
We're going to have Dr. Julie Middleton, former First Lady at the university.
And current board member of the Missouri Symphony. yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we're going to have Karen Mershon, who is a local person whom you'll get to know, and also Kayla Gomez.
Okay. All right. So that will be Saturday, December the 6th, 10:30 to 1 o'clock.
November. the
November the 6th.
It's coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
And the
Okay.
homes tour will be December.
November the 6th, 10:30 to 1 o'clock at the Country Club of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Homes Tour,
Right.
that's in December.
That is.
Yes. 3,
Okay.
4, and 5.
Okay. And the tour, the homes that'll be on tour will be revealed at the Country Club on November the 6th.
That's
Yes.
exactly right. Yes.
And they won't tell me today.
No.
Anything you want to add, Julia?
We are just so glad to have this organization, the Symphony League. They raise money for the Missouri Symphony, which is so valuable to us. So we encourage everyone to come out because it benefits not only the Symphony League, but also the symphony and our conservatory. It really benefits our entire organization.
Yeah, and you have a wonderful brunch. Now, our men are invited to this
Oh,
too.
of course. And there's going to be a surprise this year. We might even see some male models.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. All right.
And-
But you won't reveal that either.
But
No.
I might reveal some of the stores real quickly.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Bingham's is going to be there, so that sort of lends you to believe there might be some male models. Chico's, Jake Jill's, and My Sister Circus.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming
you.
by.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
best
you.
of luck with Saturday, November 6th for the Taste of the Holiday Home Tour Brunch and Fashion Show.
Thank you.
All right. You can get tickets at themosey.org.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Now I want to introduce you to Bridget Grace Sheaf. And Bridget is the Director of Audience Services and Community Engagement.
Right.
That's a good title.
Thank you.
Of Maples Rep Theater. All right. Todd, who normally comes down, couldn't be here today. But Grace is filling in to tell us about Ripcord.
Yeah.
What is Ripcord?
Ripcord is a comedy written by David Lindsay Abaire. He won the Pulitzer for Rabbit Hole in 2007. But this is a comedy, and it's about 2 women who become roommates in an assisted living home, and it's kind of like an odd couple situation. One is sort of fastidious and curmudgeonly, and one is very free-spirited. And they place this bet about them the possibility of them becoming friends. Obviously, the curmudgeonly one thinks it's never going to happen, and the free-spirited one thinks that it will. And they end up going on all these wacky adventures. They go to haunted houses and they go skydiving. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just very charming and very funny. And
Now, how
it'll be
many
a great
people are
cast.
in the play?
6. It's a 6-person.
So it's a small
smaller cast,
production.
yeah.
But it's intimate, it's touching, And it's funny.
And it's funny.
When I say it's touching, there are some tender moments.
Yeah,
in it.
it'll pull at your heartstrings. I've seen it before, and obviously we've been in rehearsals for a while. And it's a great cast, and they do a great job. And there's a tearjerker there.
Are
And,
any of the cast members that are in Ripcord, were they in the church basement or in Annie?
Yeah, actually, we had 3 repeaters from Church Basement Ladies, and 1 repeater from Annie. So half of our cast for Church Basement Ladies stayed and is doing Ripcord, and then we had a returner. Actually, Josh Banaski, who played Rooster in Annie, is in the cast.
Oh, he was
as
funny.
well. He's a
and
great
I
guy.
would tell you, if you've not been up to the Maples Rep Theater, you really should go, because it is a gem. It is a gem of a playhouse in Macon, Missouri, professional as can be. And your production of Annie was outstanding.
Thank you. That's nice to
And
hear.
I told Todd that it was so good. We saw it the first time and had to go back to see it again.
Yeah.
And if I would have gone on opening night or opening day, I would have gone back to see it 3 times.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
went in the middle of and then I went back on closing, and just outstanding. And the young lady that played Annie
Yes.
is a real talent.
Yeah, she's great. Jane
So
and Moots.
you have a knack for doing wonderful productions at the Maples Rep Theater.
Thank you. I
So
did
you
it
got
myself.
Ripcord, and it's running when?
It's running October 27th through November 7th. So just 2 weekends.
Just
It'll
2
be
weekends.
12 performances.
Okay, and then after Ripcord, what happens?
Well, after Ripcord, the next thing we're doing is auditions for Frozen Junior. So our education program is now a year-round program. And so on the 20th of November, we're having, from noon to 4, we're having auditions for Frozen Junior. So if you're a student and you come out, pick your favorite song and tell a joke and get a chance to be in a show,
Okay.
which will happen over sort of the New Year's Eve weekend.
Right, so
There'll
you
be
have to be
3
a student.
You have to be a student.
Okay,
Yes.
not an old fogey like me.
No, I mean, we could take a look. Like, if you want to be in Frozen
right, that's
Junior,
right.
I'll make it happen. But
And then what do you got coming up for Christmas?
and then we're doing a new show that I'm writing called "'Tis the Season."
Oh, you're writing
I
it?
am writing it.
So
Yes.
this will be the world premiere.
It will, yes, and it's something that we hope to bring back. Sort of every couple years at Maples Rep.
Tis the season. Will there be songs that we recognize in it?
Yep, there'll be a lot of songs. There'll be some Christmas stories that we recognize. Lots of characters that you know. It's going to be a really great, wonderful piece.
October is Good Dental Health Month. What are some of the things that we need to know about that? And then we're going to talk about Halloween and Halloween candy. So the purpose of Good Dental Health Month is what?
Just to keep it on the forefront of people's minds, stay on top of their oral health or oral hygiene. And so with good dental hygiene, we just want to remind, just doing the standard things at home that can really just pay off in the long run. Brushing twice a day for 2 minutes each time, flossing nightly, daily, using of watching how your sugar intake, how much sugars and sodas and things like that you're eating. I know, like you said, October, with Halloween coming up, that's
Why is it that some people, it's the same thing with your health. Some people can eat whatever they want to eat and they have no problem. They eat all the fat and the fried food, no heart attacks. Same thing with dental health. Why is it some people can eat all this sugar and they don't take care of their teeth really well, but they have no cavities? Other people who are diligent about taking care of their teeth end up with cavities. Is it the makeup of our mouth?
Partly, yes. So, what you put into your mouth is just part of the equation to, what will affect your teeth, potentially what could cause cavities, things like that. The other factors in play could be, what is your oral environment like? Do you suffer from dry mouth? That can be very taxing on teeth and cause cavities.
Dry mouth, Ken?
Dry mouth's very, very detrimental to teeth, and I kind of equate it to if your mouth is a car wash, and when you take your car through the car wash to wash off all the dirt, there's lots of water in there. It's washing off all the dirt along with soap. But think if you took a dusty car through a dry car wash, nothing comes off your car. If your teeth have plaque on them and build up on them, and your mouth is dry, that's just going to stick to your teeth, and that just allows a great place for bacteria to go to and cause decay.
So how do you avoid dry mouth? Drink a lot more fluid?
So dry mouth can be related to medications people use. Some medications cause dry mouth, so people who are on a lot of medications sometimes suffer from dry mouth, and so really encourage them to always keep a bottle of water with them. Some people have health conditions that cause dry mouth that they always need to keep water with them. Something like a disease, autoimmune disease called Sjogren's syndrome causes dry mouth, and so patients who suffer from that always need to keep water with them. We sometimes put patients who have a chemo radiation, to the head and neck region. That can then cause dry mouth if it's affected the salivary glands. So patients like that, we can put in fluoride trays, to wear with high concentrations of fluoride to help fight the dry mouth and keep the teeth as healthy as possible.
And some people don't realize how important those regular 6-month checkups are. We go to the doctor once a year for our yearly checkup, but it's important to go to the dentist every 6 months to have those your teeth clean.
Yeah, and teeth.
Why is it that the teeth have to be cleaned professionally, even if you brush and floss every day?
So just over time, that plaque that can build up on your teeth, the soft stuff that your toothbrush bristles can wash away, can calcify, and that is what becomes tartar, and what we call, and the other term for it is called calculus. Once plaque hardens on the teeth, toothbrush bristles, floss, water picks aren't going to get that rid of it. So those professional instruments that the hygienist uses when you go in, that can break off the plaque off of the teeth because it is literally calcified onto the tooth surface. And so getting rid of that buildup is key.
I religiously floss and water pick and brush with an electric toothbrush, and I thought, wow, there's not going to be anything to clean when I go in there. I go in and she goes, yeah, you got some down on the bottom there that we gotta scrape off. It's like no matter what you do, you still have to have your teeth cleaned professionally. Your dad talked me into getting an electric toothbrush, and after that, I thought there's not going to be anything that has to be cleaned anymore. But it's still there.
But it's less work for the hygienist now.
Yes, it is, and it feels better too.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Halloween candy, because Halloween's coming up here real soon. What do you say about that?
I say, if you enjoy the day, enjoy the time with your kids, with the candy, just be aware of how much they're eating, how often they're eating it. Don't let them sneak away and eat it before bed or hide it somewhere, where that extended period for that sugar to sit on the teeth and where they're not getting them brushed, before bed. That's really key right there.
Okay, so if you eat candy, it's important to brush right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or else, as you told me the last time, you said, just if you can't brush right away, just take a swig of water and swish it around in your mouth and spit it out, and that helps break it up.
It does, yeah, and it kind of clears the sugar in the mouth. Whenever you put something in your mouth, you're lowering the pH in your mouth, so it's making it more acidic, and we just want to counteract that and make sure that acidity level is not staying really low for an extended period of time.
Okay. If people want more information, they want to talk to you or make an appointment, how do they get in touch?
They can call us at 573-875-7071 or go to our website at www.columbiahealthysmiles.com.
Right. And if, as I've mentioned before, if you have had concerns about going to the dentist because you're afraid it's going to hurt, it's not going to hurt.
Hey, Paul.
If some folks are not familiar, explain what the organization is.
So Most Policy Initiative, we're a nonpartisan, nonprofit group that's trying to connect science to policy in Missouri at the state and local levels. So we do that through a lot of different ways, and I was hoping today to talk about our local science engagement network, which is one of our community-facing programs.
The Science Engaging Network.
Engagement Network, yep.
Yeah, so what is that?
So this is a way that scientists in the community or people in the community who care about science can more easily connect with their local and state lawmakers. So we provide resources, we host different events to teach and engage people, and then give them resources to share scientific information with their policymakers.
I think that's so important. Science it just has to be a part of our daily life. Everything depends upon it. Our health, the environment, what we do, how we get about, it's all science-based. And the more we realize that science is in our life, and science is in our life to make it better, the better off we're all going to be.
Absolutely. That's really what we're aiming for here. Our mission at Most is to help improve the lives of Missourians, and we want to do that through science. And so in November, we're actually focusing on food security and the ability of people in Missouri to access affordable and nutritious food in the state. So we're going to have a lot of different programming around this, all centered around a roundtable discussion on November 10th to talk about food deserts and kind of barriers that people have to getting to quality food.
What is the official definition of a food desert?
So depending on where you look, the definitions might vary a little bit, but food deserts are usually defined based on the distance that a household or a census tract is from kind of a large supermarket, so not a convenience store. And then it also depends on household income and then ability to travel by private or public transportation. So basically, how easy is it to get to a supermarket with a lot of options from where you live?
So you may live, okay, as an example, I live about 35 miles north of Columbia. I have to either drive to Columbia or to Moberly. Would I be considered living in a food desert?
So I'm going to leave that to the experts to let you know exactly if you would
See,
be or not.
I don't think of myself as living in a food desert.
In rural areas, you do have a little bit more distance. So in an urban area, you're in a food desert if you're much smaller distance. But in rural areas, they have a little bit more leeway. So you can be about 10, 20 miles away from a supermarket before you're considered a food desert.
Yeah, because you chose to be there.
Right.
You chose to be there, and if you're there, God willing, you've got means of transportation to get to it. So that wouldn't qualify as a food desert.
Right. But if, for example, you're in a place where you don't have access to public transportation, you're pretty low income, and it would take you half an hour to drive to a supermarket, then you would probably be considered in a
and you
food
could be
desert.
maybe just 5 miles down the road from a supermarket, but if you can't get there, you're in a food desert.
Right.
Okay. So these are all things that you'll be discussing. Will this be open to the public?
This is open to the public, so if you go to our website, mostpolicyinitiative.org, you can find the details for the event and register for it there. We welcome everybody. It'll be a virtual event.
Okay, mostpolicyinitiative.org. Brittany, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to visit with you.
Thanks, Paul. Great to see you.
All right, now we're going to talk about how do you warm that tile. If you got tile in your kitchen or your bathroom or the hallway and you love it, but sometimes when we get into the colder weather, it's cold to walk on. What can you do to alleviate that? Scott Bradley is with us. My friend, Scott Bradley from Carpet One. Pleasure to have you here, Scott.
Thank you, Paul.
You got the perfect solution to this. If you're putting down tile, and I'm holding it in my hand, they look like little suction cups, and there's a felt backing on it, and then there's a little wire that runs between the suction cups. What is this?
Yeah, so the orange part of that is an uncoupling membrane, and it has a thermal break on the back, and that wire is your heat wire. So what we do is before we install your new tile, and you don't want cold feet, we will install that matting, which will act as the uncoupling membrane and also to hold the warming wire for your floor.
So if you're putting down, okay, let's say you're putting down a new floor, you want tile, you want the tile in the bathroom or you want it in the kitchen, and tile can get pretty cold in the wintertime. This will alleviate that, and you can make it whatever temperature you want?
Yes, and you can heat zones that you want. So for instance, we wouldn't run the warm wire underneath your cabinetry. We wouldn't run it close to the walls, but where you stand a lot or where you want it to be, we can run that wire.
And
you can heat
how
zones.
do you adjust it? Is it all one temperature? Are you able to make it warmer or cooler or turn it off?
Yes, so they have thermostats and they can connect to your Wi-Fi. So if you don't feel like walking over to the thermostat and changing the temperature, you can pull out your phone and.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Now, what if you've already got tile down? You would have to pull that tile up.
Yeah, we would have to come in and do a clean demo where we take up the tile and then use our HEPA vacs and grinders to remove the debris, the mortar, and then install the new flooring.
Can you can you take up tile that's been put down, or is it going to break?
Oh yeah, it'll break. We'll break it.
Oh, so you can't reuse that tile.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so if you wanted it installed, if you got tile down now, you have to take up that tile and put down new tile.
Correct. Yes.
There is no way to just put this under the floor under that tile.
Not efficiently.
Okay.
No.
Okay. But so if you're thinking of a new floor, you would put down new tile, you want it warm, this is what's this called?
This is called Ditra Heat.
Can you, will it heat the whole room, or is that not the efficient way to heat?
It can do that. And I've had people use that as the main source of heat.
Really? Well, then, if you're heating the whole room with this, isn't the floor going to be so hot that you can't walk on it?
Not necessarily, because we space those round pucks, we space those wires so that they're not too close together, so you don't get too high of a concentration of heat.
All right, if you're interested in that, you can give Scott a call. I'd never heard of this, Scott.
Yeah.
It's called what?
Ditra Heat.
Ditra Heat. Give them a call at Carpet One Floor and Home, or check it out on the web. What's your address, your phone number?
573-449-0081.
Good to have you here, Larry Brown.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We said that you were going to do a scary Halloween story, but then you said,
Well, of course.
it's
Modestly
scary
Yeah,
Halloween
yeah,
story.
yeah.
Does it have a name?
The house at the end of the street.
Okay, so here is Larry Brown with a modestly scary Halloween story called The House at the End of the Street.
Now, all the kids in town knew that that house was haunted. I mean, they'd heard the stories of the ghosts of mass murderers and cannibalistic witches. And all of the kids had their own stories of how they'd been frightened about their encounters. Well, that house had been abandoned for a lot of years. And of course, there was estate problems and poor record keeping and devaluing of the property. And it was at the edge of town, right at the city limits, and not on the main thoroughfare. And the little creek behind the house, the woods were kind of growing as if it was encircling that house and just adding to the kind of ghostly aura of the place, particularly on moonlit nights. And so, as I said, all of the kids knew that house was haunted. And it was sort of maybe the tradition that the older kids would challenge the younger kids and said, I dare you to go some night to the house. Well, it so happened that particular fall, Bernie and his best friend Scrub were indeed challenged by some older junior high kids to go to that house. Well, they had to think about it for a few days, but finally decided they could do it at night. Now, for kids their age to get away at night, that took some maneuvering with the parents, but they finally came up with this plan that they were going to be riding their bikes around town at sundown, and it was okay. And, of course, to their disappointment, Bernie's little sister Ruth wanted to go along too, and the parents said she has to. Well, she was just as eager to explore that house and scared as they were. And so that particular evening, they rode their bikes over to the house, parked them outside, walked up toward the house just as it was getting dark, flashlights in hand. And of course, they were hearing all those sounds that they couldn't attribute to the local cats and dogs or the wind, that there was mysterious sounds. And as they approached the house and began to enter it, all of a sudden, Ruthie let out a muffled scream. Bernie was grabbing Scrub as a white-haired woman just rushed by them and apparently into the house. And there was a flickering of lights. And Bernie was saying to Scrub, you go in first. He said, no, you go in first. Finally, Ruth said, oh, we'll go in together. And as they went into the house, then again, there was a scream. It was Ruthie. And they all screamed and ran out of the house as that wild-haired woman came rushing by them and disappeared into the dark. Well, as they got back to their bikes and got their breath, and they were saying, we saw her. We saw a ghost. We saw the ghost of a woman. And they were so excited the next day to report to their friends that they'd gone there at night and experienced a ghost. And then when Bernie told their story, the older kids just laughed and said, yeah, but you didn't see the shadow man. And now they thought, the trio, oh no, we've encountered whatever this was, a witch or a ghost or whatever it was, and now there's something else. Now we have to go back. But Scrub had a plan. He said, no, we'll go back to that house, but in the daytime. And that Saturday they did. And so the three of them arrived at the house, and as they were coming up to the house, they were met by a little kid, a kid younger than I, and said, "Hi, my name's Freddie. I heard you were wanting to check out this house." Well, I knew all about it. "Come on in, I'll show you around." And this little kid took them into the house. Now, they were a bit reluctant to accept the invitation of a little kid, but he showed them around. Of course, it wasn't long that Bernie and Scrub were both asking the critical questions. "Have you seen the wild woman? Or the shadow man?" He says, "Oh, yeah, but I don't think they're bad. They don't bother me." Well, after a while, then they had to pop the other question. "But have you been at the house at night?" He says, "Oh, yeah, no problem. You want to come at night?" Maybe." He said, "Well, let's arrange for a night." And, of course, Bernie wanted to say, "Let's arrange it at school." And then Freddie says, "Well, no, I don't think at school. We don't want anyone else knowing about it." He says, "I'll watch for you and meet you there." Well, they did figure out a night they could go again to the house, and this time when they went, Freddie appeared. And he said, "Shh, now you got to be quiet. I think the shadow man's already there, and the old woman will be here soon." So they went to a room where they could look into this larger room and hushed, and sure enough, that old woman appeared, and she seemed to be talking with the shadow man and handed him something, and then shh, she was gone. And Freddie says, "Quiet, we'll sneak out later." And they did. And Freddie then said, "Thank you," and headed off. Well, as they got back to their bicycles, Ruthie says, "You know, I think I've seen that woman somewhere else before." "You mean she's not a ghost?" "I think she's the old woman with the big house and the garden that I sometimes see crawling around in her garden over on Maple Street." Well, we got to find out. And sure enough, the next day after school, they were over there, and sure enough, there was this woman, as if it was all planned, with the wild white hair crawling around. And Ruthie went up and says, "Excuse me, could we talk to you about the house?" She kind of looked up and says, "What house?" Well, the house at the end of the street where we thought we saw you the other night." "Well, come up on the porch." And they went up on the porch, and she explained that indeed there was a young man from Honduras hiding in that house, that she'd encountered him once when she was looking for wildflowers in the woods, and she was taking care of him, bringing him stuff, food and clothing, and doing laundry. She said, "I've got friends, they're going to help him out." And the kid says, "Well, can we help too?" And she says, "Well, not yet. I'll tell you when." Well, they wanted to tell Freddie, of course, and so the next day at school, Bernie went down to the superintendent's office and talked to the secretary to find out what grade Freddie was in, and she said, "Well, we only have two Freds in the school. One's in junior high and one's in high school. We don't have a Freddie." And as Bernie was leaving, he was met by old Mr. Peterson, the custodian, who said, "I heard you were asking about a Freddie. Well, there's no Freddie anymore, but years ago there was. His family lived in the house at the end of the road. But, you know, they moved years ago after Freddie was mysteriously killed down on the creek." And as Bernie walked away with his eyes open and his mouth open, saying, "Oh, no, we're going to have another adventure at the house at the end of the road."
Ah, that's a good story, Larry. Now, is this a true story, or is this from your imagination?
This is a fantasy.
It's
But
what?
it's a fantasy. But you know that all of my stories have some sort of
I know.
connection to reality.
I know. The house I lived in town for years. The kids in the neighborhood said it was haunted, and they used to dare each other to go over and touch the front door of the haunted house.
Always is the case.
Yes. And I heard things in that house. I heard things in that house at nighttime. Larry Brown, for more information, real quick, how do they get in touch with you?
Brownstory@hotmail.com.
Brownstory@hotmail.com. Thank you, Larry.
Sure.